Online. Right, tēnā koutou katoa, no mai haere mai I tēnā hui ko te poare o Waitai mātou he kateaki mō iwitai tātoro puharake ki nui me o Pāoho a mō ngā tangata o te rāwhiti o te tahi ko au te hia mana o te poare o Waitai ko Pomata hau. My name's Paul. I am on the Chiefers on the Community Board. Welcome to the Waitai Community Board meeting. And just a note on TK, we had a information session before that. So we have in the past opened our public meeting with a karakia, but that I'm reliably informed that we have already opened it, and so we'll just close with karakia. Just for those of you who were wondering why we were doing a karakia. All right. So now. And welcome to everybody viewing online from Wollston and Washington and everywhere else. So now move to item number 1, which is apologies. I have one apology for Alex Hewison, who's very unwell. Any other apologies? No other apologies. Would someone like to move that those are accepted? Thank you. Moved by Greg, seconded by Jackie. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Are there any declarations of interest to make? No declarations of interest to make. And confirmation of previous minutes. Moved by Jackie, seconded by Greg. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against, carried. So I move to public forum. So public forum is up to 5 minutes for anyone from our community to come and speak to the board about something that's important to them, but something that's not on the agenda. So we can't make any decisions based on that, but we can ask for more information and advice from staff. So that's 5 minutes, including questions. So if you'd like us to ask questions, please leave some time. First, we have Shirley Sports Club. So we have Scotty and Tim. If you'd like to join us at the end of the table. Right. Thank you very much. The floor is yours. Yeah, press there's a profile of a person with sound waves coming out of them. And that's that will make sure we can hear you.
So kia ora, my name's Scotty and Tim. We're from the Shirley Sports Club. I'm a facility manager there, and Tim is involved on the chairman of the board that runs the club year round. Firstly, just want to thank you guys. I'm sure you're probably involved with this, but I know I'm short of time. But I met with Kelly a couple of months ago, and one of the things we talked about was rubbish bins being installed at the club rooms there. So thanks for that. We had a lot of it was well received with a lot of the dog walking members of the community. So that was great. So thank you there. Our main problem at the moment that we're facing is with car parking space in and around the club rooms area. If you're not familiar with Burwood Park on New Brighton Road there, where there's the parks on both sides of the road down from the Palms, we have a long driveway there, and the club rooms are in the middle. Back there, as you can see on a Saturday, it's great to see so many people down at the park. But obviously it's damaging the grounds, which is not good for our summer sport and the cricket seasons as well. There's no disabled parking there. There's no staff car parks. So when we have bar staff that are working at late at night, they sometimes have to walk distance to their vehicles. So there's safety concerns around that. We had an ambulance on site earlier in the year, and they had to reverse down the driveway because there was nowhere for the ambulance to turn around without going on the grass, and the ambulance driver wasn't prepared to go on the grass. So that damage to the grass, the mud, obviously it gets trampled into the club rooms, and then it's cleaning issues and so forth there. So there's a couple of spots, east side and west side here on the map. They're an area that have you can see them there on the west side and east side there. They're an area that is unused as a park space for sporting at the moment. It's bordered by, as you can see, the poplars on both sides there. We could look at some options for sites there. I know and these were some of the things that we talked over with Kelly earlier in the year about that. Another option would have been down the driveway as well, with some angled parking or parking down the sides there, as you can see, different options there. Obviously, some of those solutions could be combinations. We could widen the driveway and have a east and west side. Obviously, cost effective is where we're at, so we're not looking for it to be tar sealed. It might be slightly easier as if we're going to keep the trees there as well, minimal damage to trees. So we just look at sort of open shingle space going down there. It would be a good use of any unused space there, and slightly easier for the groundsman to mow, not having to go around some of those poplar trees that were back around there. There's some handout. I don't know whether I've got some handouts here if you want to see some of those as well, just about the benefits along the lines of safety and security, and those types of things as well.
You're welcome to leave those with us if you like.
Yeah,
I guess the key thing is we just wanted to make the facility more accessible. It's right smack in the middle of the park. It's a well-utilised park, and actually it's just trying to create some more, I guess, safer options for people who are using it and accessing that, and therefore hopefully it's a longer term solution that can be looked at as well.
Yeah, thank you. It's Jackie, it's very clear. Yeah, Jackie has a question.
Thanks. I'm just looking at what you're asking for. Okay, I can see that you need the parking and you've designated space. Who are you planning to fund the supplying of that chemical remedial works that need to be done? Are you looking for council to fund it, or are you looking to fund it yourselves, just looking for permission?
At this stage, you would probably be looking at a council project.
Council project, yeah. Okay. That was my question.
No, very helpful.
There are some sponsors within the clubs that may be able to, in the form of concreting, servicing and well, so there might be able to be a combination of the.
So what we'll do is from this we can refer it to staff for further investigation and advice, and then we'll come back to you. All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Cool. Thanks.
So we just process it, so we will send a.
Yeah, so as part, because as any kind of club at forum, it will go to staff for
We just specifically ask for because
so as
with park staff on
it comes later in the agenda in terms of referring.
And we're happy to provide supporting material for that as well. We've got plenty of stuff that we can do.
Yeah. So we're unable to move resolutions based on the public forum. So it goes in the minutes and then we get it. Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we have Eco Action Nursery Trust. Or do we not?
No action.
No, we didn't have a whole bunch of them. So in that case, we'll move to deputations by appointment. So these are 10 minutes for an item that is on the agenda, and 10 minutes including questions. So the first is about the Burwood-Waitai intersection improvements. So we've got two of these. One's not on the agenda, but I've allowed a late deputation. The first one is from Stephen Wood, who's a local resident. Stephen, good to see you again.
Hi. Good to see all of you again, and welcome to Mihi Rose and Kim. I've got a presentation here. I did a little bit of research this morning, and one of the things I did was looked at the crash database that's held from police reports, and just searched on anything that mentioned both Marahau and Burwood. And in the last 15 years, because I've got data from 2000, there's 48 crashes in those 15 years. That's just the tip of the iceberg. All the near misses that don't get reported, and all the people that don't want to cross the road or anything that's not reported. So the consultation, cover the next slide, please. Oh,
Yep, there we go.
So how to make a decision, I can't, the principal thing is safety. The reason we're addressing it is concerns about safety. Other considerations come into it. People are going to be upset about if traffic flow is slowed down, by how much. And there's lots of different kind of users. The motor vehicle users are in heavy and light vehicles. The heavy vehicles include buses. We've got one of the bus routes going through there that's now to 10-minute frequency. And there's also road users on foot and bicycle. And there's also disabled road users. We're right next to a hospital. Some of the patients may be on doing exercises and trying to access local shops. So the other big thing, I tried to ask someone, one of the members who had a discussion of this on the Facebook page, which is the safest option? And the answer was they're both equally safe, which isn't really, it's sort of kind of glossing it over. Big difference is cost. One costs nearly twice as much as the other. And the other factor in this is just a public perception of different kinds of treatment on this. And that's one of the reasons why we're talking about this now instead of the meeting just before the election, when people thinking is coloured a lot more by the election. I'd like to just point out that last year the council published a future transport plan that's looking out 10 terms, local election terms, and one of their figures in that is as a ideal network of cycle routes, and this is a picture of that, and a note that both Marihau and Burwood Road are penciled in on that map as indicated by the arrows. Closest parallel to what we're doing here is happened down in the south of the city, a roundabout that was causing concern. It's not exactly the same. It's got a particular thing about the hill approach. The community board there opted to go for a modified roundabout. It really polarized opinions, so I put two paper clippings there. The press actually put a headline that called it both a downgrade and an abomination. And then 9 months later, they published a story that said, oh, they actually worked. So, but there is an ongoing story. There's some of the features in that roundabout which are not being proposed here, which are still causing concern. And one of those is the crossings are zebra crossings. So you're getting off a roundabout and there's a zebra crossing, so you have to give way. That's not being proposed here. So in summary, I don't have a strong opinion either way personally, but I would like to see it based on a decision based on facts and data rather than just ideology or opinion. I'd like to see vulnerable users considered, that cyclists have a choice. I've often come to this meeting and to council telling people that cyclists are not uniform. There's all sorts of different sorts of cyclists. So there will be cyclists, whichever option we want, but may prefer to just use the footpaths and the pedestrian facilities rather than ride on the road. Personally, if you make a mess of this or people behave badly on this, I know how to avoid it. I can ride other places. I've got a last slide in there, and that's most of you will have seen this. I just about get this every time I come and talk, but for the new members, that's explanation of how cyclists are different. So I've kept my talking short. So if you've got any questions of me, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation. In the past, I seem to recall that there's been some concern that roundabouts for cyclists are more dangerous than traffic signalised intersections. Do you have any comment on the danger of roundabouts in terms of the safety for cyclists versus a signalised intersection?
It's a different set of risks. If a roundabout is set up as a high volume double lane roundabout, I would tell cyclists to keep right off it. But a single lane, low volume roundabout, can work and does work in many places. I mean, there are several within a few hundred meters of my house, and they work fine. This is kind of intermediate, and the thing for cyclists to use it safely is that the lanes are narrowed, and the way that cyclists will use a roundabout safely is to take the lane. The most dangerous thing a cyclist could do in a roundabout like this is to ride around the edge, because there's more conflict. If they ride in the centre of the lane, that's where people are looking for motor vehicles, and they're going to have people trying to sideswipe them either way. So it'll be the ones that are confident will just take the lane. The ones that are not confident will go to the footpaths and use that. So it's going to sort the cyclists out into the confident and the underconfident, and won't cater for those sort of in the middle ones that.
Right, yeah, we've got a few more questions. Sorry, we've got a few more questions too. Just warning that we might run out of time for all of them. We've got Kelly, Jackie, and then Celeste. Kelly.
Thanks, Stephen. Just in terms of roundabouts, are you aware of any figures that would show the incidence of cyclists hitting roundabouts versus lights? The reason I ask is I consider myself in that 1% of cyclists, but now I'm starting to wonder whether I'm the 7%, because roundabouts scare the hell out of me as a cyclist. Do you know of any figures?
No, I don't. I did find one. I haven't separated out about cyclists, but I did look for one intersection in town that had been converted from a roundabout to lights in the last few years, and I found Vandovi Idris, and the total crashes have gone down a little bit, but it's hard to tell. It's only a couple of years, and every single cyclist has got a sort of a crossing line between where they would go, where they wouldn't go, and to me, I'll say it depends on whether you're in a hurry. I went down to Hornby to look at a bike last week, and I ran short of time, so I rode Sockburn roundabout. I've avoided that like plague, but and I was in a hurry, and I survived. So normally that is one. Most of the ones that are double lane, I would advise people off, but occasionally when the traffic is light enough, I'll take it. Yeah.
Thanks.
Right, Jackie, and then Celeste, if we've got time.
I'm just concerned, Stephen, that you're saying if a cyclist cannot navigate a roundabout, yeah, I don't understand. I don't bike anymore. Going on the footpath is actually illegal, and that's one of the things that's been brought up. It is illegal. Children cycling on the footpath also have difficulty. Was a child had been knocked off the bike when riding on the footpath because they didn't feel safe on the road. What can we put into this scenario at this intersection that will make it so that we're not going to be, cyclists aren't going to be breaking the law or further put themselves in danger by being run out?
The answer to that is what was happening at Kashmir, is that the footpaths are declared shared paths through the intersection.
And that require it to be a shared path. Thank you.
Right, so this is your question, quick.
As someone that uses it quite regularly, how important do you think it is to get on and do something sooner rather than later? Like, would you be comfortable if there was a delay in terms of delivering the project by 2 to 3 years, so they're doing nothing option? How comfortable are you with that if there's no funding for it?
I don't actually avoid it because it's dangerous. I walk through it. I ride through it. I occasionally ride to avoid it, because I've got some escape routes around the back of the hospital and things like that I can avoid it sometimes. I probably don't see it in its peak times, like around schools and start of the day. So it depends on how happy you are with the current accident rate.
Right. Well, on that note, thank you very much. Thank you. Very helpful presentation.
Thank you.
Right, so now we've got Andrew Baker, principal of Waitai. Andrew Baker. Did I say? Oh, sorry. I wrote it down, but my R became a squiggle.
We'll excuse that because we're relating to it. So thank you very much for leading us in. Until you click on. Hi, my name is Hunter Brown. I'm a year 5 from Waitai School. I want to talk to you about the Burwood and Maryhill roundabout. I ride around it every day. I think it would be much safer if you put lights, traffic lights in it. In the morning, it's very hard to cross because it's so busy. All the kids that Mr. Barker spoke to about the roundabout are nervous or scared when they use it. Some bike down the street because the roundabout is too dangerous. There have been many accidents at the roundabout, and one of my friends saw one. It was between a bus and a van. The man was holding his head bleeding. Personally, I feel much safer and less scared crossing with traffic lights. Thank you for your time.
Oh, it's got a little excerpt I'll play here. This is a community member phoned this through on Friday morning. And this is an example of the things that don't end up in the stats. So I hope you can hear it.
To report a near incident this morning. I was coming across QE2 Drive where the lights are, and a young girl on a bike, probably one of your older girls. She's dressed up in a pixie outfit.
Was it dress up there?
She wasn't sure when to cross the road. She was on a bike with someone else, but the person behind her went back, and she crossed, and luckily all the cars stopped. But once she got to the right-hand side, she kept going, and a Jeep slammed on the brakes, and honestly, she was an inch away from losing her life. I'm a bit upset.
And so I followed up and found out it was actually a boy with a long mullet that was riding a bike. I know this isn't Maryhill, Burwood, this is the QE2 Drive, but it's just an example of kids. So I caught up with the guy that was in the pixie uniform, and I said, can you talk me through it? He said, I was waiting with my friend and we heard the lights change. So they heard the change at the crossing and they thought they were supposed to go. And he got out far enough that he knew he was in too deep. So he just kept going. And he said the truck actually locked up and was skidding, and it hit his front wheel and knocked his front wheel around, but he's fine. So I got all the kids together. I went to the year 5, 6s today. I said, who uses the Burwood Maryhill roundabout? And there's probably about 10 in each studio come along. And so I spoke to them all. The outstanding thing they said about it is they felt scared from it. There's one girl says, my dad drops me off at the Burwood Bakery and I still feel scared about the roundabout. So it is incredibly difficult for our kids to navigate. And they're not strong at navigating, depth perception, all those sorts of things. Hunter's a very good cyclist and uses it. He's one of the few ones that actually uses it. Most will go down the road and cross further down the road. So it's pretty challenging to navigate. So I see if there was a larger roundabout there, it would be possibly more challenging. And also with the increased traffic flows that we're going to get with the increased building in the area. So that's just our concerns.
Can I ask you about, and we'll go to Greg. Sorry to interrupt, but
no, that's good.
You say, sorry, a bit of feedback. With a bigger roundabout, but what about with the crossing, with the speed humps and the median islands, the pedestrian refuge islands? Are they going to improve the intersection?
I'm not sure. I think it could even confuse kids more. Like the example I gave with the boy there, he could have stopped in the middle, but he got himself in so deep, he shot right across the other lane as well. So kids aren't good at paying attention, aren't necessarily good at following the rules. And I think lights at a crossing and a stop go would be a much safer and simpler option for them to navigate.
I mean, my concern about this choice is more about the delay than about the form of the final intersection. But just in terms of like that QE2 one, obviously big, double lane, there's lights involved, that kind of thing. So, I mean, lights don't cure confusion, but I guess that is an even more confusing intersection because you've got a combination of the two, right?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Greg.
I know as Waitai as a school encourages active transport to school, people walking and biking. Do you have an estimate of the numbers of students that don't walk or bike to school that would go through that intersection?
There's a heap. We do a walk and wheels to school day, and staff actually go down, they'll wait outside Burwood Hospital and they'll wait for, and we wait for the parents to come down and the kids, and you get to chat to the parents at that stage, and most of them will not let their kids cross that crossing. So that does obstruct students from walking or taking their bikes or whatever to school. So it is a real barrier. The other thing is QE2 Drive, there's a heap of Shirley boys, Overside girls, Chisnawood, come down there. They're on the footpath there. It's quite open, not too many driveways, etc. They come around the corner onto Burwood Road and come past Waitakere School. They all stay on the footpath because they've been told to by their parents because it's too dangerous to be on the road. It's without fail, they're all on the footpath. They are now stopping and getting off and walking past the school because we had a girl from Chisnawood run over earlier in the year. She was fine. Her bike was under the as a car came out of the driveway at school. So that's also a real concern, that the cycle ways down the road there is because there is a huge number of students that come down there every day.
Jackie, did I miss? No. Celeste?
Coming in, and it's helpful to hear from our local school. I mean, because we've got a number of different roundabouts. We've got the big one where we don't have lights, which I think we have to navigate, which I agree is security was quite dangerous. But further up the roundabout, would you be comfortable if this project was to take, say, 2 to 3 years to get to a point where it could be delivered? Because the challenge, of course, is this is an additional cost isn't budgeted for.
Yeah.
And if that may mean that we can't do anything for some time, because we won't be able to add capital funding this year.
Yeah.
So is it something that you see as a pressing concern, or are you comfortable waiting?
My personal opinion is we need to wait for the correct solution. That I would rather wait and get it right and have it safe than put something in and then it could get cleaned out in a couple of years' time, sort of thing.
So the status quo for you is you'd be comfortable with that?
Yeah, well, not necessarily comfortable. I don't know if that's the right word, but I would rather us accommodate that and then wait for a more expensive, or I don't know if we call it a better solution, but one that's going to be more easy and navigable.
So you accept the trade-off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, that's helpful, thank you. We do have time for any more questions, if we have any.
Anything else to add, Hunter?
Well, thank you both for coming in, and it helps us think more clearly. All right, the next we have is Colleen Phillip on behalf of Sustainable Ōtautahi Christchurch, and she's with her former regional councillor, Greg Byrne. Welcome to you both. 10 minutes is yours, including question.
Tēnā koutou katoa. I'm coming to just be the faces behind a couple of the faces behind the letter that we sent you. We sent you a letter from what I'd call an informal collective of people. About 18 months, 2 years ago, Sustainable Ōtautahi Christchurch, that is really concerned with strong sustainability, and one of the threads of that is subsidiarity, people being able to make decisions as close to the, localism, decisions made close to.
That's one of my favourite things.
And so we started thinking about the fact that we really haven't paid enough attention to community boards and our relationship with the community boards around the city. And and so we had a couple of public meetings specifically on community boards to raise awareness, to get more understanding of what you people do and the role of community boards in our city. And then that moved towards, well, community boards have plans and we should really look at those plans and see if we want to put any input to them. And so we've had 2 meetings around the 3-year plans that you run. The first meeting was a collective of people looking at citywide, and then we had one that was more localised to the Waitai, because I live in Wainoni, so I facilitated a meeting just looking at the Waitai Linwood Burwood Coastal Community Board plan. And Greg, you wanted to say some really affirming things about that plan. We're really thinking there was such a lot of good things in the last plan.
Te mihi tuatahi, nai tu hakuriri, te mana whenua, I just want to say, acknowledge nai tu hakuriri. And hello, everybody. I'm kind of an add-on at the moment. I have been actively going along and enjoying the fact that there's a very strong collective. And one of the things that has come out from the collectives is support for many of the community boards, including this one here. And an example would be community gardens, which has been very good, and also the support for the likes of the urban forest, the planting plans for the likes of the even Otakaro and the Opawaho Heathcote, certainly really important parts. My interest is, of course, around, interestingly, I bought this book last week and I got my Forest and Bird today, which is talking about it, which is about climate mitigation rather than just acknowledging we're just going to have to put up with what comes. There are many active things we can do. Your community board has looked at things, whether it be directly, but certainly your commitment to the environment has been very good. But I think you would acknowledge that this side of the city is fairly sparse, especially when you look at some of the mapping that City Council has done itself. But I did want to acknowledge and thank you very much for your commitment to all things good in community.
And your commitment to weaving the East, Rārangi Te Rāwhiti. I think it's an incredibly important thing that you're doing. So I just want to say that the organisations that have been involved in this very informal grouping it's involved people they have come to meetings with SOC, we've sent out invitations and they've chosen to come. We are now in a stage more of outreach, local outreach. For example, on Friday I was talking to New Brighton Community Gardens people. But we've had Sustainable Ōtautahi Christchurch spokes. Stephen came to the last meeting, Fox and Anne came to the previous meeting. Climate Action Ōtautahi, Christchurch Enviro Hub, Te Whare Roi Mata and Community Gardens Association, as well as someone from the Delta Trust, and so on. And so on have recused themselves from this particular part of the conversations because they are working with you on a contact basis, so they're not involving themselves or talking to you about the plans, but they are part of our informal collective. We had a very tight time frame, and so what we decided to, we're on a bit of a journey. We're sort of, and we knew that you were looking at your plans now, and that we needed to get together something to bring to you. But what we're really wanting to do also is next year we will be coming with more specific areas that we would like to come and talk to you about. But we really like the fact that your plan is iterative, that you leave room for ideas, and that we will have time to come and talk to you more next year. We just wanted to do this like it was spearhead. Please don't forget these things. These are things that we're already thinking about, and some of them are things like, for example, water sensitivity, on-site solutions, which you'd already referenced in the plan, but we'd like to talk to you more fully about that. We want to talk more about the ecological things that Greg has been talking about. I was at Affirm Aranui at the weekend, and I was in the store where there was an issues board, and I was delighted to see how many people put looking after our rivers and our lakes as one of the really important things for them. So I've mentioned some work that I personally am leading around a piece of the Avon or Takara River near Porra Park. We want to talk to you more. We'll get a group together to come and talk to you more about some of the things we've sort of indicated there in food resilience, security and fairness. And now I'm going to stop talking because you have our letter, and I've got 3 or 4 minutes for questions if anybody's got any.
Thank you very much, both of you. And it's great to get at this level of engagement and help talk to all of this too. Going back to the very beginning of your letter, you talk about subsidiarity and localism. Why is it so important to sustainable ōtautahi to that decisions are made close to the people that they're affected.
Because they'll stick, and there's ownership of them, and it's real, and it's what people really want. Like, they know their own place, they know their own needs, and so it's part of, you know, you're more likely to love something you know well. So just think about rivers. The people who have a river near them are likely to make better decisions about their river than a river in the North Island. Yeah. Would you want to add to that, Greg?
Well, I go back to the earthquakes, a series of earthquakes that we had, and the fact that our community showed leadership then. They showed the capacity to be able to get together and to work collectively for the people within that. And, you know, my personal view is, with some of the work that I've done very, very basically within this sort of community, with my role as a regional councillor, there are very strong pockets within the wider Waitai Coastal-Burwood community who are already doing stuff. So it's really agency support as it being community driven. I think that's the key to anything to be successful.
Any further questions?
Is there any sort of feedback sort of in terms of the gaps? And yeah, because I know you've got some areas that you've highlighted in terms of going forward, but are there any things that you think we should pick up as to that we haven't kind of fully covered in our last book plan that maybe it's probably
Can I? Yeah. It's probably premature to sort of go into the detail, but we've certainly identified some stuff that we would like to come back to the board with, so that we can specifically sort of get into them within a 5 or 10 minute period, rather than trying to do many things in one thing. But what I would say is we're looking to make use of the likes of GO 309, the University of Canterbury community paper, which is people coming out looking at community problems and coming up with a range of maybe solutions or options to go forward that we would then use as maybe evidence to be able to support some of the stuff that we're talking about.
Well, thank you very much. And what we'll do, I think, is I'll move when it comes to the correspondence section that we receive correspondence, and then we consider it as part of our board plan.
Wonderful.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So that's the end of the public forum and deputations. We don't have any petition correspondence, as I said, so I'll just move that we receive the report and consider the letter. So receive the letter and consider it as part of our the board plan process. Right. So move that. Seconded by Jackie. All those in favour say aye. Against, carried. Right. Thank you. So now on to staff reports. So the first one is Burwood and Waitai intersection. So we've got Chris and Tom and Kieran.
Karen's away.
No, Kieran's away. All right. So,
That's all right.
yeah, I know.
Do you want to do the one first?
People at the end of the week, we might as well. I can move it to. I can do that next. So thank you very much. I mean, you would have heard the discussion. The touch on the trade-off around time and potential lack of funding, that would be helpful. But if you want a presentation, and then we'll take questions.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be back. Good to push this forward. We were supposed to come back here in September, but unfortunately, we missed that. So we're back now. So Burwood-Mariha intersection. Last time we were here, we asked permission to go to consultation. That was agreed upon. So we went to consultation, and the results came in, and I'm sure everyone read the reports. Quite interesting, actually. So just going over the two options briefly. I think everyone's well versed of what the options are. This is the roundabout upgrade with raised platform on the approaches. And some traffic calming or narrowing of the intersection. Then the second option is the traffic signal upgrade. Bear in mind with the traffic signal upgrade, we've got some overhead power lines that needs to be undergrounded as well. That was also in the report to show the extent of that. And then we've got the crossing at the hospital as well, with some speed bumps on the crossing. So more the technical kind of side on the advantages or the comparison between the two. I can probably ask Tom to quickly run through this for us.
Cool. Okay, just quickly taking a step back. So the reason we went to consultation on two options is both options achieve the project objectives and address safety. However, they do that in different ways and with different trade-offs. With the roundabout upgrades, the proposal was speed humps on the approaches, and so the reason for that is you're physically having to slow vehicles down before they get to the intersection. That's how you're getting that safety outcome that way. There's a bunch of research that tells us basically the slower you go, the more survivable an accident's going to be if it happens. And the downside of that is there will be some delay to general vehicles. Your other option is your signalised intersection. Obviously, with a signalised intersection, for most people, red means stop. And so that's why you're getting that safety outcome that way, because you're basically saying, well, if he's going, you've got to stop, and you've got that protection for your people who walk. One of the key drivers for the project, along with safety for all road users, was from the hospital, because for people that have had a back injury or spinal injury, one of the key parts of the rehabilitation is taking trips in a local environment to go to the dairy or going down the road, or for kids walking to school. And so that was a key driver, both the upgrade at the intersection, but also looking at putting in that mid-block pedestrian refuge crossing. For that specific crossing, we looked at a bunch of different options. A pedestrian refuge is preferable because it means that if you're got mobility restrictions and that, it's giving you a safe place to wait. So you only have to cross one traffic lane at a time. Once again, speed bumps are proposed on the approaches because it's slowing vehicles down. Particularly if your mobility impaired, it's going to take you longer to cross that road and you might be a little bit less able. So then every time we can give you is a benefit. Basically what you see in the table is all of that sort of the technical summary. So both options achieve the project objectives, which is good. The pedestrian refuge island can be delivered with each option. Each option does have a parking impact. It's very comparable. So the signals, I think, has one more car park that needs to be taken away just because we need to do more physical curb works. We're also proposing under both options to do a little bit of cycle lanes between the intersection and further down Murray Road, where you're putting in some cycling improvements as part of the Preston's developments. Another consideration is because this intersection is well utilised by general vehicles, buses, ambulances, and everything else, is what is the delay on the wider network, or what is going to be the delay of our proposed solution. What our modelling is telling us is with signalisation, you're going to have a delay, so it's probably going to operate a little bit better in some of your peak periods, but then it's going to have a longer term delay, sort of outside of your peak periods. Funding, I think we've had some background discussions. So this report was offered to go to you in September. Since then, we think there might be a little bit more money available to try and bring that signalised option forward sooner. So you'll be looking at probably a similar construction timeframe of around August, September for both of them. We just need to do a little bit of confirmation along with that long-term plan process to make sure that's 100% confirmed. it is quite good news. I think once again, this team here is committed. This project's been on the books for 10 years, so we just want to get it over and done with and built. Construction impacts, we're aware that there's been a lot of impact, particularly this intersection with the water main upgrade. There's a sewer main that's been going in soon. So what we're trying to do is align our investigations with when the sewer main work is doing that. So we're trying to avoid that disruption. Comms is going to be incredibly important to how we do that. And thinking ahead and having discussions with Ryan, if the signalised option was preferred around Howard Underground, we've also heard from them that they may be keen to tag on to our work as well and do some more of the underground of their, some more maintenance of their network at the same time. That could have an impact on construction duration. But then the good news is, if it's all combined, there's going to be probably more impact for a shorter period rather than
a
longer impact. So that's just something to work through.
Yeah, okay. So are you happy to take questions now?
Do you want to cover off? So maybe what we found out during consultation is feedback's been incredibly mixed for both options, and I think that's part of why it might be good just to have a bit of an overview of some of the outcomes of consultation before we take questions.
Yep, sure. So I'm standing in for one of my team who ran the consultation, so I'll answer questions to the best of my ability when we get to that. We did have the standard early engagement with all of the usual transport stakeholders, emergency services, the hospital as well, and that was to discuss the two options that were on the table. St John and FENS didn't have any major concerns, although FENS, as always, they do note that this can slow emergency response times. ECAN raised concerns about the signalised intersection affecting bus timetables, but they also felt that the speed bumps would potentially impact local residents through vibration. Burwood Hospital did prefer the roundabout for slowing traffic, but they were very keen on having minimal parking lots. So then we ran the standard consultation using all of our channels, including hospital communication. So it went out to all hospital staff, web pages, Facebook pages, that sort of thing. So as you know, this is an incredibly hot topic in the local community. People really do want to see this intersection resolved. And as such, we had a huge response, 2,000 views on Korero Mai and 367 submissions, including 7 from organisations and businesses. It was overwhelmingly in support for a signalised intersection. So we had 60%, the roundabout upgrade 24%, and then a further 16 either preferring neither option or they weren't too sure. If we're just looking at where people live in terms of their preference, then those who lived in the local area definitely were more in favour of the signalisation, and those further afield perhaps preferred or were more divided. Transport mode also had some influence on how people felt. So cyclists and wheelchair users actually leaned towards the roundabout option, and then car and bus users preferred the signals. Most of them seeing it as safer, and they thought that the traffic flow would actually be better with a signalised intersection. Those who preferred the roundabout, again, thought it maintained traffic flow, so it shows there was a little bit of misinformation out there or misunderstanding of the information provided. It would be safe to all road users, so probably those more vulnerable users. The majority of those who somewhat supported the proposal, their resistance was around the speed humps. So both in terms of the roundabout option and the pedestrian island option, most people were a little bit concerned about the vertical infrastructure.
Right.
That's that.
Cool. So I just want to clarify something before we go to questions. Had Jackie, so can we turn your microphones off? I'm sorry.
They echo each other.
They echo each other, yeah. Is that it sounds like hopefully that we have we might be able to bring the lights forward, so there might be funding, and if we can do it at the same time as Orion, that's going to reduce costs too. So so my main concern, so it just is around the delay and the potential in a constrained fiscal environment that we wouldn't be able to deliver it, which would breach trust with the community. And so the information you provide today makes me think it's more likely we're going to be able to deliver the lights than we were before.
Yeah. We put a request in the annual plan for the shortfall. So it's pending that decision. So the risk still remains, but at least it is positive.
Okay, cool. Well, that answers my main question. So we've got Jackie and then Celeste and then Yanni and then Greg.
Hi. You were here and listened to our submitters earlier and their concerns around cyclists, whether it's going through traffic lights, whether it's a roundabout. What capacity do we have in this project to actually bring in those shared paths either side that would make it safer, especially for our younger cyclists? Is there any capacity that we can actually bring those in?
So we've got two challenges. The first challenge is this roundabout or this existing roundabouts in an incredibly constrained environment. We can't take land up anywhere, and so it's physically having enough space so we can have shared footpaths would be an incredible challenge. So we've looked at that. Our recommendation at this stage is probably not. The second one, in terms of funding, is we're already pushing the top of the envelope, obviously with the signals, but the roundabout option cost is getting pretty high as well. So it's the physical constraints and very much limiting what we can do for this option.
Okay. I get that. I'm just concerned that this is about safety. And the biggest issue with the safety is our young people on their bikes, because the children are easily distracted. So it would be something that I'd be keen to look at around train lights and school perhaps and things like that. So, thank you.
Celeste?
It's just another clarification around the funding, because that's my concern as well. Given the signals that we're getting, that there's quite significant constraints on capital funding, we're looking at rephasing $100 million worth of funding. So, is it just to, because we can get this information before the meeting today, when will we get clarity on the likelihood of that funding going through? Because if we approve decision for traffic lights based upon an assumption, and then we find out that funding's not approved, like is it an internal budget, or is that something that we need to find a substitution with as part of the annual plan? Like
It's part of the annual plan. So I can get some more clarity on that question and come back to you.
So councillors would need to go into for it, I think, is the implication.
I see. So it's not something that would potentially come out of another budget. That's internal, so we would have to find a substitution potentially. Okay.
Yeah.
Just two questions. First, in terms of budget, other transport projects on their recoverable money have gone through a change process and just had money reallocated off other projects. So have we gone through the change process with council, or can we not do that until we approve the option?
Yeah. Okay. So, it's already requested through the annual plan. So I'm not sure if we can actually go down that path in parallel.
Right. And the staff delegation to do a change request outside of the annual plan. And so that's what I was wondering, because obviously we've had some concern about delay.
Yes.
But actually council are notified every, month, the ones that staff have reallocated budgets of other programs to.
Yeah, but we need to have a budget where it comes from. At the moment, we don't.
Right.
Yeah, because if it's not done, if you don't have a budget in the long-term plan or annual plan, then legal.
No, sorry. So just to be clear, council has a change process. The other councils will be aware of it. We get reported to a number of projects that are significantly underfunded for whatever reason, and they substitute. They take additional funding from program level budgets that haven't been allocated, and they put the money in. And they top them up, and some are twice as much as the project had cost. So you don't need to go through an annual plan for change request? It's just something that the staff have a delegation to a certain level, or council can make.
So the request is for additional funding on top of what's already been allocated, right? Not to the specific project, but generally. So I'm just trying to interpret what's been said. So there may well be money that is available elsewhere, but that work has not been done. So good question.
I've been through
Yeah.
a couple that we can say they're in PX, so I can't really.
Yeah.
put it on. But then the second question was, just looking at the signalised plan. I can't really see the traffic lights. I just see the kind of curve and channel. Yeah, built out, but I just, the comment about having additional land, I know that the hospital has a big empty space. Has there any discussions about whether you would get any benefit from taking some of the CDHB land and just widening it? Because when I look on the other side of that road, on Muddy Hill Road, not the hospital side, the other side, it does look really, really narrow. So, yeah.
Cell phone tower still.
Yeah, there's a cell phone tower right there.
Yeah.
And we haven't gone down that road of purchasing land because that'll add a lot of time onto the project as well. So, yeah, we haven't gone down that path.
Right, thanks. Greg.
I got a whole bunch of questions. How many submissions were there that said there was no of the speed bumps around the pedestrian island?
It wasn't
Because there was a separate section where it said about the pedestrian island to support that, and there was a lot of people particularly around not supporting the speed bumps at that point.
it wasn't a separate question, though. Was it a question, do you support the speed bumps?
There was, do you support the plan to install pedestrian refuge island with speed bumps sort of thing? And that answer quite often people would note.
Do you want to answer your other questions and I will find that out for you?
Sure.
Is that all right?
Yep. Also, how many submissions did not want either option, but also said no to speed bumps? Or on the speed bump?
That's very specific.
I know.
I sense a theme.
I'm trying to get my
So
question.
13% didn't want either option, that's 59 people. So you want to know, as a subset of that, how many said they didn't like either option because of the speed humps for either the roundabout or the pedestrian island?
Yeah, when I went through, I think it was 23 myself that I found.
Good. Let's take that as reasonable.
Yeah, so around half the people that didn't want either option, but then saying that
Yeah.
they weren't keen on speed humps at all, is another part of that.
Yeah.
I
I think it's fair to say that people found the speed humps the most problematic
Yeah,
part of
9 it was.
both designs. Yeah.
Yes, the speed humps, yeah. Have you used a wheelchair crossing at a roundabout either?
Me personally?
Yeah.
No.
It's something not many people do. I've done it before, and when you're at a roundabout, it is quite daunting when you're in a wheelchair. One of the reasons I say that is you are sitting lower than most standard behind people. You're lower than eye line part of the modern time as well. So quite often what came up, there was over 30 people that were in favour of a signalised intersection, and they noted they were either wheelchair users or noting wheelchair users have a limited mobility, or they were people with hospital patients or along those lines. So it was 30 people out of around 40 that noted that fact, saying that they supported signalised intersections, noting that it is a lot harder to have that. And I've seen many times, and I've been one of those horrible people as well, going through an intersection, you watch to your right and you go, and when you go left, you'll go around that corner and then there's someone right there, and you do get caught out at times. And that's where my concern comes in, is around having the roundabout option upgraded. Yes, you have slow people coming into the intersection, but it's when you're leaving and you're watching to your right as you come around with people with reduced mobility. Crossing that intersection is quite a concern, and that was raised multiple times throughout around the wheelchair users having that space. it was be a signalised intersection, do you still believe there'd be a requirement for the crossing further down the road with speed bumps down there?
So the hospital requested to have a crossing there, and so that's why there's that recommendation.
It's around the speed bumps.
If I'm thinking purely of safety, that's why there's a staff recommendation of speed bumps. They're the most effective way of slowing vehicles down and making it safer. And that's to look at the survivability of a crash.
Yep.
Basically, if a vehicle's going 50 k's and it hits someone, I think the survivability of that crash is around 85 to 90% that you'll die or have a serious injury. If that speed drops to 30, you're likely to walk away with a broken arm or broken.
Yep.
And so that's the key difference.
So when 300 metres down the road, there was a traffic island put in, and there was no discussion around a speed bump at that point. What changes in 300 metres of road? Well, it's the same road, potentially busier with more people coming out of Rosso Road further down.
So it's nothing. So I think in terms of the staff recommendation, the staff preference, the roundabout with the speed hubs is the recommendation because it's within the existing budget. If it was if the motion was that the roundabout was going to go ahead without the speed bumps, then the staff preference would be for a signalised intersection primarily on the safety aspects.
We're getting close to the end now. It's great to see the increased parking next to the dairy there as well, because that's something that a lot of cars do use that space, and so the extra space beyond that driveway is, it's great to see that's been incorporated. It came up in the feedback as well as the info session that came out. And just a side point as well, I know that I've got the numbers of the submitters if you like, but there were 7 submitters that were in favour of a roundabout upgrade, but they're against speed bumps. So even though the numbers say a certain thing, within those, when you break them down further, there's quite a discontent amongst that around certain options. And for me, I see a clear resolve from the residents, whether it's local or further afield, but a vast majority of them want the intersection. It's been something that's been delayed since 2014, I think it was first came forward. So yeah, it's like there's space to go. It's the signalised intersection space.
Just thanks, Greg. Kelly, and then Celeste.
Yeah, just most good questions from everybody, by the way. My question is just around the feedback. Obviously, this signalised intersection has 3 times as much support as the roundabout upgrade, but 41 people, or actually 49, who didn't support either option. Did you think of asking them whether, if they had to support an option, which one they would choose? Because I guess that would give us just a little bit more clarity.
People really don't like it when we do that.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah, they absolutely feel that that's us trying to tell them how to think. Yeah, we've had just yes, no options before, and even that was people.
Oh, that's good. Understand.
All right, Celeste, and I think we might have come to the end of the logical conclusion of the questions, but good.
In terms of because I think you mentioned, but I didn't quite capture it. Did you say cyclists and wheelchairs prefer the roundabout? Or did I misunderstand that part?
Yes, I think so in the table there on page 33 of the report, so we heard from 22 people who use a bike most regularly, 5 preferred signalised intersection, 14 the roundabout upgrade, 2 didn't support either, and 1 was not sure.
That's interesting, thank you. And just a little bit more information about Burwood Hospital, because I'm just trying to understand, like, there is difference in perception plus actually what delivers the most safety. So I'm interested to know, in terms of Burwood Hospital, why was there preference for the roundabout? Is it the delay with intersection, signalised intersection, or was it other things? I'm sure it's in there, but it's from
Yeah, no, that's all good. They liked how much it would slow vehicle speeds.
Okay.
If you think about a probably speaking very much out of turn
That's
here.
fine.
A signalised intersection when the light is green, there's nothing slowing you down. You're going to drive straight through, whereas with the roundabout, those humps would always be there.
So, and that touches on the issue around why the speed humps for the pedestrian refuge is because even with the lights, because people can still hit the lights at 60 k's. Yeah, so okay. Do we have anything questions about anything that hasn't already been touched on? All right, no, well, thank you very much. We'll move to our discussion debate now. So I'm aware, I sort of, before we move into debate, I just want to get a sense, because this has been something that's been on our agenda for a long time. And I came into this, as I've made clear to people I've talked to about it, and in this meeting, that was concerned about the potential delay in not being able to deliver signalised intersection. If we went for that option, it seemed clear that there were a good chance of getting signalised. So for my part, I'd be happy to support a signalised intersection. Where I think there is definitely going to be disagreement is around the speed humps for the pedestrian refuge island, which I personally think is a better idea, because people can still hit that intersection at full speed. So I would like to get an indication from people. I know that, so Greg's asked has got a draft resolution to do the signalised intersection.
So we can pop that up to Leonie.
Yeah,
this one starts through, so it changes to a controlled traffic signal there.
So we'll do.
And then we've also got a little bit further down, if there was a question around the speed hump, we've struck out that if that was still yours.
So we make it two separate.
So my suggestion is that we make it two different motions, because then we can not conflate the two.
This question, so you looking at voting on the.
So making it two questions, because I'm happy to hear alternative views, but that would seem that way we can deal with the question of what kind of intersection it should be, and then whether we consider that particular safety improvement is necessary.
My concern is that separating out safety features that have been looked at as a kind of one package then means that we kind of potentially compromising safety without advice on what that would mean.
But it would be the same for either of and the reason why, and I wouldn't have proposed if I hadn't have thought about the fact that it would be the same for either type. So it's not going to affect it has no bearing on the overall change, because it would be the same in either situation for either of the intersection options. Do you know what I mean?
I think Celeste's talking about the speed bumps by the.
Yeah, so you put it as a separate item.
No, so I'm only talking about, because we're only talking about speed humps at the pedestrian refuge island.
Yeah.
Not about, and so we're talking, so two questions. One, is it signalised or roundabout? Second question, the pedestrian refuge island by the hospital to the dairy, does that have speed humps or not? Essentially.
Personally, I think that should be part of my decision. I'm not quite sure whether separating project into different kind of safety aspects. There is problematic. While some people do have on the speed bumps, there is safety considerations about.
Well, yeah, I mean, you heard my view on it.
Yeah.
But Greg also has a motion. So what we can vote on the motion as it stands. If Greg, you can move it as a whole motion if you like.
I'd rather do it separately.
You'd rather do it separately.
Part of that as well is that if there is to be a delay in the traffic lights, then there's still the ability to do the other pedestrian island separately.
Yeah, I minor, but I guess yeah. So are you wanting to move that motion?
Yep.
So that's without the reference to the speed.
So do you want to just move one first, as in resolution one? Mover and second for one to determine the intersection. Then you could get, once you've decided that, you can get a new mover and seconder for the rest, or whatever you want to do.
So the first one is just on the signalised intersection.
Yeah, okay, so you move that it's a signalised option.
Yes.
Do we have a seconder for that? Kim? All right, well, do we have any debate? And you don't need to debate it, but you're welcome to. As mover of that group, you're welcome to speak to it if you want.
I think everyone's pretty clear on what my thoughts are on this one, for the last 10 minutes when I was asking questions. This is something that's been around for a long time. It's been 2014, I think it said in the report when it was first brought as an upgrade. For the last few years, we've continued to delay this project, and it's got to the point where the costs are now escalating each time, and the longer we delay, the more trouble we're going to have. I understand there's the potential for it to be delayed due to cost measures, and we're basing that off one current government that is making one decision on capping rates potentially. And if there's a change in government in 12 months, there can be a big change in that that policy as well. So to say that we won't see something for years and years and years based off that is no one knows what's going to happen in 12 months at that same point. So to advocate for something now, to have it done and in the process and have our councillors advocating for that funding where possible would definitely be the best solution in my mind. I've had it for years with my kids avoiding cycling through that roundabout, and I've seen it firsthand with wheelchair users going the long way around the islands on the roundabout as well to try and avoid being close to that corner. And the plans that show the roundabout with the crossing points, they were still in roughly the same spot, and so they're very vulnerable when they first come out of a spawning unit after an injury. So to me, there is only really one option to have, and that's the signalised intersection.
All right. Does anyone want to speak against that? Against? No, great. Well, because if there's not really a debate, I wanted to give Greg, the ability, and I know, but I will make the note that I came in reluctant to support it going to signalised, so I can say I'm debating, but signalised crossing, because of the risk of delay. But now, given what the staff have said, I don't think that's as material, so I'm happy to support it. Yeah, so I'll open up for one more person to speak. Anybody wants to speak?
Yeah.
No?
Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, I've been thinking about this for a long time. You have conversations with previous City Councillor for Burwood, Glenn Livingston, and he talked about the fact that they've been trying to do something here for an awful long time. I really think that replacing a roundabout with another roundabout is not going to achieve what this intersection needs, and Greg's already mentioned it, but it needs regulation. And I just cringe when I think of children cycling around there, and people trying to cross there, particularly at busy times. People understand intersections with traffic lights. The rules are very clear. Roundabouts, whilst they can be quite effective, they leave it up to the individual as to the decision that they make, whether to pop into the roundabout, whether they've got enough time, and trying to evaluate the speed of people coming in from the right. And I think, look, this would be a really sensible solution. I'm not concerned about the funding issue. For good projects, done right, done properly, once and for all, there will always be money for it. And I promise that I will advocate for this around the council table with the support of my colleagues, because I just think that this is the right thing to do, create a permanent solution and solve the problems for everyone.
Thank you, Kelly. Are you wanting to speak against?
No.
Well, we've had 3 people in favour, so I'm going to put it now. We'll move to the next. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. All right, thank you. So next, what I think that was agreed to. So the next we'll move. So we should be able to do all the resolutions apart from the one about the traffic, just the speed humps. So can we put all of those? And so that's including the special vehicle lanes. We've done the signalised intersection.
They're from special.
So from 2 down to.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm removing the.
Just number 1.
Just that one,
Yeah,
so including the.
So,
And
the-
do you want?
so go down to, where are we? So keep going down, so go up to, so down to the attachment C, so that. And if you, the easiest way of doing is we can do,
Get rid of this.
yeah,
one.
so get rid of that and put it down the bottom, yeah. And, so I'll put, the next, so all these bits are are just the detail of what we've already agreed to. So we'll put that, without debate. So I'll move that. Anyone second it? Seconded by Jackie. All those in favour say aye. Against? Carries. So now we'll come to the pedestrian refuge island. I'm going to move it from the chair. Do we have a seconder? Moved by Celeste. No, I mean,
Do you want to about the calming?
with the what calming device? What do you mean?
So
Sorry.
at the moment, what we had from
So
earlier
with-
with Greg, so we're all about the speed hump essentially.
With the speed hump,
Okay,
yeah.
so take that strike out.
Yeah. So I understand that many people and my colleagues really don't like speed humps. But of all the speed humps that are sensible to include, surely it must be this one outside this particular hospital. There is a desire line across to the dairy that it's like of all the people that we should be protecting, and inconveniencing drivers, which is what it's doing, and I agree with that. And look, as you know, I have a neck shoulder injury. I hate speed humps, hate them, hate going over them. And I talked to lots of people in the early part of the campaign before I was stuck in bed, and but people can see, particularly in circumstances like this, that sometimes they are necessary. I think this is one of those times where it's really necessary.
Safety, so the number one bit of feedback we've had for this project is, regardless of what option, you want to make sure that the vulnerable users of this road are protected. And my concern is that we all know that if people aren't stopping already, the only way to make them stop is actually to get them to slow down, and that's what speed bumps do. So that's why the staff have recommended this option. And I think as much as we should listen to the community, we also have to listen to the expert advice of people who are paid to do this type of work, and their feedback has been that this provides the safest option. So I wouldn't be comfortable knowing that people are crossing this road without any measures in place to slow people down. So I'm pleased to see that we're progressing some safety improvements around the roundabout, but I want to make sure that further up the road where people are also going to be crossing, that we've got effective safety improvements in place. So I'll be supporting your safety improvements with the speed humps.
Kelly?
I also respectfully disagree. I think down at the intersection, the new signalised intersection will be the perfect place to cross. I live just down the road from this. I see very, very, very few people ever crossing the road there. It's not a logical place to cross the road. If it was, then I'm okay with the idea of a pedestrian island to protect that. In terms of speed humps, they are deeply, deeply unpopular in our community. And when we talk about expert advice, I'm certainly going to bow to my colleague, Greg, who has a brother in a wheelchair, who has coached the Wheel Blacks himself, is intimately understands wheelchair use and its operation by the people that he deals with. And I think if Greg thinks that the best place to cross would be down at the signalised intersection, then I'm going to tend to agree with him. Cheers.
Jackie and then Kim.
If there's going to be a crossing at that place, then I would recommend we have speed bumps there. If there are no speed bumps there, then I would recommend that crossing is taken out of the plan. Right? Now, I've heard from our members here that speed bumps are greatly frowned upon by our community. Yet my experience is that speed bumps aren't frowned upon by our community. They're frowned upon by a section of our community who is inconvenienced by them, but they are greatly loved by the people who are actually having traffic slow down outside their homes, having the traffic slow down where their children are crossing the road. So I disagree with the implication that people hate speed bumps. Some people hate speed bumps, and people who hate things are usually the loudest voice. But if there is to be a crossing, then I would say there has to be speed bumps. If there are no speed bumps, take the crossing out. It's how I see it.
Kim?
Yes, I agree with Kelly and Greg. I also feel for those, we have a lot of ambulances going on that particular stretch of road as well. I have to manage speed bumps at that point. Would be tricky. Not very comfortable with patients, to say the least. But also, I agree with the fact that now that agreeing with the lights on down there, that's definitely, as a parent and as a grandparent, I'd be sending my children saying that's the way to go.
Thanks, Kim. Anybody else wish to speak?
It's a hard one because I was in the middle of it, but I think probably just picking up what Celeste said is not think of the safest option, which would overall I would prefer them to be at signalised lights crossing. If the option is to go at a crossing that has no lights, it then becomes more dangerous with or without the speed humps. So probably the partly removal to agree with Jackie there if we are going to have speed humps or no speed humps, then my preference would be to have that option taken out and just have the signalised lights as an option. But that's just my opinion.
Do anybody else wish to speak? By which I mean Yanni.
I was just trying to get some. Is there a motion to remove the crossing?
No, so the motion is to put in place as the pedestrian refuge island.
Yeah.
So what's on the table is that it's a refuge island with the speed humps.
Right, I just wasn't clear that people have said that if the speed humps aren't.
It was more of a hypothetical.
Yeah, but no one's moving an amendment to do that.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I find this one, I do find it challenging. And during the campaign, I did hear from a number of people that were really concerned about the impact that speed humps had, particularly on elderly in taxis or Ubers, people in ambulances, the judder that people go over. Having said that, like I live next to on Rutherford Street where you have a crossing that many people use, and it does not have any speed humps. and the traffic goes incredibly fast through there, and it's incredibly dangerous, even with a little cut down. So I would feel the preference that the previous two have said that if there's no speed hump, then having a cut down crossing is not the right approach. It just creates a dangerous place for people to try and cross with the speed of the traffic. So I'm pretty torn on this one. And you know, just still kind of thinking it through. I do think, it's hard to know without the demand of this crossing, of how many people would be using it and whether it's justified or not, especially if we're going to signalise the intersection. So still kind of in the middle about where you go. But I do appreciate the concerns that have been raised on both sides.
We're in debate. Is it a point of order or
Is it too late to introduce the amendment to?
Yes. Yeah, we just had the final speaker. And it wouldn't be an amendment. It would be the way to do away with it is to vote it down and then to introduce a new motion. Yep. So you could what's the word? Foreshadow. You can foreshadow the motion to put in no crossing. So I've got I'm going to use my right of reply, which is very rare, to say that it is the hospital did request this. And I agree that it would be better to have no pedestrian refuge island without speed humps, because and Rutherford Street's a really good example, because I had almost been hit several times on my bike using that refuge island. But if all you have to do is sit outside where there is a dairy that is slightly offset, where people have to walk across, people can't walk directly across to the dairy or something, they have to walk down the road. And you watch people, and there are several dairies around in Linwood Ward where people do this, that if we don't put it in the right place, people aren't going to go to 300 metres, they're going to try and cross the road. And we're giving them a safe option, particularly dangerous people have been requested by the hospital. And you cannot get, so you've got human psychology and you've got physics. You have people, the lights aren't going to slow people down when there's a green light. That's just, and you are exposing people. So yes, I agree with the hypothetical that it would be better to have no intersection, no pedestrian refuge island. But I think the pedestrian refuge island with the humps is the best option. So I'm continue what I moved. And so now I'm going to put that. Bearing in mind there is something that's been shadowed. So all those in favour of this motion, which is installing the refuge island with the speed humps, say aye. Aye. Against?
No.
So I'm going to, because I'm not sure, I'm going to call a division there. So bring out your apps, everyone. This is the first time.
It is the Nintendo.
Oh, I even got a notification from Nintendo.
In a division, if there was any.
Huh?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, if we can do that.
So I could not hear everybody. So so now has everybody got their app working?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So this is the awkward thing. When you call a regular division, you know what's happening. Yeah, don't like it. Well, it shows a little ring around it. Yeah. So we all. So can you put it on the screen? Or? Oh, so not approved for all right, okay. Well, in that case, that's that. So now we have a question of, does somebody want to move? Well, there's no pedestrian refuge island, there's no speed hump. So it's
completely gone.
It's completely gone. Right. So that's the outcome. And let's move on to the we're going to move on to better off fund applications. So thank you, staff, and for your work and your advice.
So this will be split part, we'll go to council for decision?
Yeah. All right. So
maybe to make the staff recommendation.
I mean, so these better off funding recommendations are all pretty straightforward. Does anybody have any questions about them? I don't think so. I just want to say I'm very, sorry, who moved?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say I'm very, very happy with all of these. And I think so the plaque on Radley Street a while ago, so I'm not going to address Smith Street Garden, somebody else might want to touch on that. The plaque on the corner of Radley Street, this is a bridge that was installed to provide working people access over the river during the Depression by J.K. Archer, who's happened to be the first Labour Mayor of Christchurch. And somebody stole the brass plaque. And there's another plaque down the road from similar era. And so they're going to be replaced with stone plaques. So much less danger being stolen. So just feels good. Jackie, did you want to touch on
Smith Street?
Yeah.
I'm really glad to see this come before us and to have this, I'd like to see funding approved. Smith Street Garden, since the little glitch we had last year, has gone from strength to strength. And as part of Wilkeston and and that community, it's just getting better and better. So I really want to support this funding for them today, so they can continue educating, they continue to expand, and continue to produce high quality vegetables for our communities.
Awesome. All right. Yeah.
Thank you. On top of what the other two elected members have said in regard to the other two projects, I totally support the Smith Street Community Garden. It's a fantastic initiative, and it's nice. At the start of our meeting, we heard from Sustainable Waitai Christchurch supporting us doing more in that community garden space. But there's a tangible way that we can support a really good garden to continue to get better and improve. And I've had the privilege of doing a walk around and seeing what they're up to, and I've been really impressed. So the more we can do to support them, I'm very supportive of. The other thing is I just want to acknowledge staff for the work that they're doing with the Wilson Development Project. Again, I'm very supportive of us looking to fund this project, recognising that there will be work that needs to happen around the long-term, medium to long-term viability. But just to pass on that, the demographic in the area is changing. We've had a huge intensification of social housing. There are numerous new needs in the community. There's a lot of extreme sort of behaviour happening, and places like the Wilson Development Project are such a vital link into providing support for the people most in need in our community. So I was fortunate enough to go there as a young person many years ago when I was a teenager. It provides a really valuable service to our community for people that need it. And I really just wanted to acknowledge the role that staff have played in trying to find a short-term solution to give them a bit of breathing space to look forward so that they can continue to exist and continue to provide the good services that they do.
Right. Yanni, does anyone want to speak against? No. Okay, put that now. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. So now we'll go back to item number 9. Friday is on Zoom for the Community Park Rolling Renewal Program. Just ask members if you can keep annoyances about the wider issues around parks renewals out of this and just focus on what we have in front of us. I think Celeste, you may have a question. Hi, Bridie.
Hi. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah,
It's a little quiet. Just need to...
Yeah, it is a little bit, but sort of make it out.
We've just started. We've got staff on the line. So after this, we can.
Brady, just 2 quick questions from me. The Kainga Hall Reserve and the Brighton Beach, New Brighton Beach developed, which I think is, I'm not quite sure what that is, but for the first one, there is a discussion from the Kainga Association. They want to get rid of the hall because the resident association is winding up and they're looking at getting that demolished. If that happens, we're able to look at maybe bringing forward that project. It's just that if that building's demolished, they might want to activate that space.
Do you mean the renewal of the building?
Yeah, basically their preference is the building is removed by council, so the old
Okay.
building.
Yep. So demolishing buildings comes out of an OPEX cost, or any decommission and any decommissioned assets generally, especially buildings, comes out of an OPEX cost. So happy to have those conversations. It'll probably be outside of the renewal though program, but yeah, we can get
Maybe
the
we
ball
can look at
rolling
that
there.
separately. And
Yep.
then, sorry, the second one was New Brighton Beach Development. What is that one? I just couldn't quite remember what that was.
New Brighton Beach developed. That is where the ship and the new whale pool area is.
Yeah, because my recollection, I could have it wrong, is that we asked for that one to potentially be brought forward because with all the other renewals happening in the mall and nearby, it was seen as more of a priority. But it's still out to FY29. So maybe
Yeah, I
maybe
didn't get I didn't get a request for that one to be brought forward. Who did it go to? Who did it go through? It should have gone
I'll
through
have to go back and look. But my recollection was that one in particular was just, and maybe the feedback leaked through in regards to the gardens rather than the actual assets, and maybe that's what we forgot to put through the second part of that feedback. So if we wanted to bring that one forward, is there an opportunity to do that today, or would we have to wait?
We might have to wait, but what we could do is I'm going to be coming back in 6 months or so's time. We can look at it then and bring it forward and bring it into the program, because at the moment it doesn't meet the thresholds required to be in the program. But we can have a look at it then, and if it does, then we can put it in the program and move it forward maybe a year more than we normally would. But would have to look at it then.
Yeah, we could get some advice on that because I think it is looking pretty tired and it is quite an important asset for this area. So whilst it might not be possible, just getting the advice would be helpful. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Other questions? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Just in regards to the sports network plan, that's completely separate to this, isn't it? I'm just mindful of the deputation we had at the start of the meeting, and the request to get some paths in Burwood Park.
Yep. So that new pathways and parks. Anything new is development, not renewal. So this is about existing assets that we already have and own,
Right,
and when they need to be renewed. Yeah.
In regards to the question around Linwood Park, so there was supposed to be an updated concept plan. Do we know where that's at or when that's likely to come back?
That would be the planners to respond to that one. That's where that one has gone to.
Right, okay, cool. And then obviously things like where we've got like a development plan like Bexley, for example, we can get a report from you or a memo around what's happening there.
Yes, we have a new project manager assigned to Bexley who's already starting to do some work. So she's already been tasked with providing the board an update on those next steps and the progress that's happening down at Bexley Reserve.
If it requires like budget for additional works or things that have a shortfall, would that come out of these budgets or is that a separate budget line?
That would be development budget, because that's a lot of that work that's going on down there aren't already existing assets. And are separate line items in our budget. They don't fall under these this program.
And then just the final question from me is, and thank you, I've got some information back around the Aranui Playground renewal. And I understand staff will be looking at some sort of community development type approach to seeking sort of ideas and feedback. So I guess I just wanted to flag, like, if that Aranui project, which is right in the heart of the area that's been hit, the worst by some of the odour issues from the wastewater treatment plant, but if we do get some new ideas rather than just renewal ideas, we can incorporate that into what we do there. Is that possible?
Yeah, there's always opportunities to, when we're coming through and renewing things, if there is an opportunity and support from the community and yourselves to develop areas beyond what's just already there, we can accommodate that, but we need to make sure that we've got budget for that. So we can't use the renewal money to do that. We would have to be looking at development money, maybe board's discretionary funding like you've done down at Thompson Park years ago. That would be the one thing I'd say to that. Yes, we can accommodate it, but we've got to find budget and it's got to sit outside of renewal.
Cool, thank you.
Cool.
All right. Any further questions, Greg?
Hey, everybody, just looking at the community parks and play space renewals. Yellowstone Reserve for the build area has it listed over 2 years. Is that like purchase or procurement 1 year and then installation the following because it's at the end of the financial year?
Generally, yeah. So often you'll see with playgrounds, we do it over a couple of years. That's so that we can do engagement, planning, procurement, and then construction the following year.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I hate to see it happen twice.
No. It's just a timing thing with the way that the the way that our fiscal year operates.
Right. All good. All right, in that case, I'll put that now. Oh, I'm sorry. So would someone like to move? Greg, seconded by me. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carries. All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Bridie.
Great. Thank you very much.
And so now we move on to item number 11.
Give you a break.
Oh, you only want to.
Thanks, Friday.
Yeah, right.
All right, we are live. So now we move to item number 11, which is the Waitai Youth Development Fund and Quarry Fund delegations, which I've just put a chair's recommendation, as you will have seen. So we have one member from each of the wards on each of those kind of effectively subcommittees. Are you happy to move?
Oh, it's changed on there. I was going to say on the agenda.
Okay.
Push it out.
Right.
Sorry, look up.
There was a mild typo, but it's
okay.
It's sorted now.
In that case, is someone happy to move that?
Happy.
Moved by Kelly, seconded by Jackie. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. So, we covered that offline. And now recess committee, which is the same as all of the recess committee, which means that Jackie and I get all the power and can make all the decisions over the summer, of which there will be many.
Being contacted over the summer ever.
I wanted, but it wasn't for a meeting. It was a media matter, and it was horrendous. All right. So would someone like to move that? Pointing over the recess committee, moved by Yanni, seconded by Jackie. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Now we move to the consideration of the casting vote, and which, ironically, would have been useful today. But I still emphatically reject the concept of a casting vote when we have an uneven number of, and I'm, anyway, so happy to move that we do not provide me with, or whoever's in the chair, casting vote. Seconded by Greg. All those in favour say aye. Against, carried. So now we move to appointments to external organisations, and we have had some interest. Just to note that Actors have specifically requested. I said to Actors beforehand that I would step down from Actors, and then they said, "Oh, can we have me?" So, and so I would be remiss of us to ignore that. There should be a list on yeah, the list is coming.
A little question here.
What kind of question?
Some of these residents associations. Okay. All right.
Okay, well, that wasn't even a full question.
It was answered by Greg.
Oh, thank you, Greg.
Sometimes, guys, we get a question and answer, and we didn't know either. Yeah.
All right, we just waiting.
The minutes are just not cooperating, so just
Depends if you require the information as to what we're voting on in front of us. Here we go. What's the process question? Oh, if it's about a specific thing, can we deal with that soon?
It's just a general question.
Okay.
Around the number of appointments to each organisation. Is there a mandated number, or is it something that we're able to have discretion on?
So you mean the number of, so say, better for Brian, the number that can be appointed to. There's not a fixed, there's no hard and fast rule, but one thing that I would say probably is.
Can we have one conversation, please?
One thing I would say is, a lot of these groups are fairly small, so you want to be mindful that adding more elected members to a group, it can just kind of unbalance things, because you're there just as a liaison. So you go to the meeting, and then the intention of your elected member information changes to be able to come back here, report on what happened at that meeting. So that's what your link is. So there's no hard and fast rule on the numbers. But the other thing that you want to do is just be mindful of your own time. So you don't want to be on everything, because you just don't have the time to go to every meeting.
Yeah, and I just want to emphasize, like, what we don't want, and this used to happen in another context where you get all the elected members turning up to these meetings and be like half the room, and it overwhelms them, and then it just, yeah, and it's like having an impromptu community board meeting about a particular matter, and it's not what the board reps are for. And yeah, so I unless my view is that it's better, unless they ask for more than one, that we should only appoint one.
And that's typically what we've done.
Yeah, and then that you are their person. So on this, we have people who have self-nominated, and I think Beautiful Brighton has 2 people, does it? Yeah, so they did ask for 2.
But it may not continue. I'm not sure that it's necessary.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter if we can appoint to an organisation that may or may not continue, and that doesn't mean anything. You can go.
The only, sorry to interrupt you. One other thing that I would say, so what we do following this is we write to the groups and let them know who's been appointed, but it's very much on the group to be inviting you. So it's not necessarily that you'll be invited to everything that they do, but it's more about they know what Paul said, they know who their link is, and then you're the link back to report back to everyone.
And everyone, so for actors, you're very much considered part of their governing body, whereas that might not be the case for everyone. And like the Orion Customer Advisory Panel, which I've been on, which is a really interesting time to be on it because of what they've been doing. You're not, it's not a governance thing at all. So it's all right. So in terms of the ones that are currently, if we exclude the Bromley roads, because I think that's the one that Yanni particularly wants to talk about, is everybody happy with all the others? If you scroll down, the ones, yeah. So so the bottom, we'll leave the bottom one for now. So does anybody want to amend any or contest any of the other ones?
Sorry, I just had questions for information. It's just hard because we don't have kind of the information around the reason for the appointment. But for the Linwood Ward, there's three new ones. One, Bromley, we'll park that because we've had that discussion. But just want to get clarity around the Smith Street Community Garden and the Linwood Resource Centre. And it's a bit, so like Paul's point before, sometimes we appoint to the trust or to the, the governance group, and sometimes we're just appointing like a liaison. Do we have any information about why those 2 have just come in now and what the background is? Yes. And again, like I'm very supportive of us having a connection, because it's new. I'm just trying to understand.
I believe with the Linwood Resource Centre that because Phil Clearwater is on the board, that he would have he suggested they have a board appointment.
So often these things are governed by trustees and formal documents.
So these are all board rep or liaison positions. So they're not appointing you to a trustee unless you're specifically being asked for that. So for all of these ones, you're just a liaison. So you're not appointed to their board or their governance.
Except for actors.
No, actors' constitution has changed. So now the board appointment is not a trustee, the board appointment is a ex officio.
Yeah, and they've all requested that we make an appointment.
So my understanding with Paul's answered with Linwood and with Smith Street, we've talked to them and they're happy to have a board rep. And I guess, you're granting today a large sum of money. So it's kind of good to have that relationship and to be able to give support to the groups as well.
Celeste?
This is where the Alex isn't here, is apart from the Beautiful Brighton one, which one that got here to see.
So there was one other thing that his name was up. So he's put his name next to the ones he wants.
I just can't see the full list, is there?
So there's Youth Alive.
So just one other. So if we're looking at distributing them across to make sure there is representation, because there's about 15 person ones. What happens with ones that don't have anyone within the people next to them? Because Kim's picked up about 5.
I think so. I mean, we can come to the ones that don't have anything as a separate kind of, like we've moved to those. I just wanted to make sure the ones that people had expressed interest to. So there's no legal requirement for us to appoint anyone. So Kim?
Sorry, can I just ask, is Tamara Resident Association still going?
I think it's in recess at the moment.
It's in abeyance, isn't it? Yeah. So, but yeah. So if it wasn't, then that person would just be the person. Okay, so not hearing any dissent. So in terms of Bromley Yanni, I think the rule of one, it should just be one person.
Well, I strongly disagree.
Can you articulate clearly why?
Because as someone who was on the committee when it first got set up, it was never my understanding that it would just be away from the board. So when we've had working parties in the past from the community board, like the lower Heathcote Guidance Plan 1, we set up community members, board members, we work together, we get the plan drafted, we put it up for consultation, it comes back, gets signed off by the board. So in my view, like with Bromley, for example, I would think that, it's such a significant piece of work that requires council, community working together, that the whole process around it. I mean, I've got emails from 3 years ago trying to understand what that group is doing that still have not been really answered to any deal of satisfaction. So the ability for us to attend, first we were told no elected members should go. Then I'm told that some elected members can go, but not others. I don't think that's very fair. I think it is an issue that people have been working on in the community as a local elected representative.
Well, why don't you be the rep?
They should be able to.
Why don't you be the rep?
No, but sorry, you're missing.
Well, no, because I disagree with you that it should be all of us. It should be one of us. So why are you okay to be that person?
Like I'm happy to do it, but it still doesn't get to the point around the purpose of that working party. So I want it to be focused on an outcome, and I want it to be focused around working through the board to get a plan put in place.
Well, if you were the rep, you could address that with the group and the staff.
And I also think that if there were other elected members, local ones, but they should be able to attend those meetings if they've got an interest in it.
Well, because it's actually a community working party that has one community board rep on it. Which can I just confirm? Would you like to be that person?
Well, I would be keen in being on it for sure.
Okay. Well, let's put Yanni's name there.
So I'd like to have been on it, but I didn't put my name forward because you did put yours forward. So all of us want to be on that,
but it should only be one because it's not an elected member, it's the community group.
But I just think the other advantage to having two is like for whatever reason, sometimes there'll be conflicts. So having two means that you've also got someone else.
But that applies to all of the groups though.
Well, it does, but like I said, Bromley's been an issue that we've been working on for a long time.
Indeed.
And we've had lots of confusion over what's happening with it. So.
Chris?
Yeah, and I wonder if perhaps the names may be something that's tripping up, and Rory can give me an evil look if I'm getting this wrong. But I think because it's being called working party, it's been confused with what's been set up with some boards like Banks Peninsula's got loads of working parties which are more of a governance base, whereas this is more of a consultation group, right? It's who we're engaging. So it's very much about community. So it's not really it's not a sort of a subcommittee or something, a subgroup of the board that's meeting. So it's different. So it might be the name that's tripping it up.
Sorry, I understand all this. I don't want to exclude Jackie from going if it's something she's got an interest in it. I can't see clearly there's a difference of view.
Yeah, the point is the same with all of these groups. It's one board rep. Unless I specifically ask, because we don't want to dominate it with our presence, it needs to be predominantly community.
So who do we ask for this one if we can have two reps?
Well, you can be the rep and you can ask when you go to the meeting.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. So shall we move now? And now if we go down, so currently there's no nominations for the New Brighton Community Gardens, the New Brighton Historical Society, Brighton Projects, the Pukekal Centre, Renew Brighton, Royce Oaks Hall Trust, the Brighton Residents Association, and Spencerville Residents Association. Do we have any volunteers?
Alex.
Let's just put Alex's name all of them. No, I don't. As much as I would enjoy that, I think it would be out of order. Yeah, so we can leave those vacant and appoint them in another time in the new year.
Should we bring a report back?
Yeah, so just bring a report back in February. So we'll move motion that appoints all the other ones. If to move, seconded by Rick. I'm just waiting. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Carried. The next is a submissions committee. The easy way of doing this is just to appoint the 6 non-councillor community board members, and then if a separate chair was appointed, that could be done by that committee, which is 6 of us. So would someone just like to move the staff recommendation?
Might be schedule next week, it's all in one.
Oh, is it? Oh, in the meeting schedule. All right, so we have to discuss that. So we've got support for the submissions committee, but anybody want to amend anything in the meeting schedule? The only question I had was around, often boards have no meeting in July. Does somebody want to have no meetings in July? Doesn't seem like it. Well, in that case, would someone like to move the staff recommendation? Moved by Jackie, seconded by Greg. Put that now. All those in favour say aye. Against, carried. And so now we have the area report. And as always, amazing amount of work that's being done in our community and by you guys, staff team. And you keep working even when we weren't here. Yeah, I know, it's amazing. There's a thing about democracy though, that for a while the absence of it wouldn't be noted, but at some point, believe it or not, members of the public, we might come to regret having no democratic local oversight. So any questions about the area report? Yeah.
It's just a kind of question of staff, and just to acknowledge all the really good work that you're doing. Just mindful that there's been a lot of engagement with the Pacific community as well, and I was just wondering, in terms of, I know we haven't kind of adopted the board plan, and I wonder if we need that in the board plan, or whether we could just just I guess have some sort of sense of trying to capture all the good stuff that's happening in terms of our engagement with that community. I was just mindful that I know Celeste and I went to a thing that was at the Parklands Community Centre with the Papua New Guinea community, right? And there's lots of these little Pacific communities that in the past historically we haven't had a lot of engagement with, but there's so much happening now, which is really cool to see.
So I haven't got it open, but I'm 99% sure in your vision statement for your last board plan, you had comments around acknowledging the importance of communities and working together as part of your engagement. So it was reflected in there, but it's also definitely something you can re-emphasize in your new board plan as well.
All right. Anything else? No. Would someone like to move that we receive the report? Greg, moved by Greg, seconded by Mary Rose. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. All right, thank you very much. We've got elected members information exchange. We don't have a lot of time because staff need to pack up before 7 o'clock. Is there any information that you need to exchange? No, it doesn't appear so. It is.
We've got the Santa Parade in Brighton
Yeah.
on Saturday, and
Christmas in the Brom.
Christmas in the Brom. Yeah, Sunday at Public Centre.
Yeah, awesome. Only if you're in a float. Some of us may be. Yeah, if you come to Santa Parade, you'll find out.
Yeah, actually, we give away lots of love.
All right. Do you have information to exchange?
Yeah, I do, thanks. So we had a Bromley Community Liaison meeting, just to highlight that the progress is construction started on the eco-gas site in Hornby. I just wanted to share one little thing that the people from eco-gas said to that liaison group, which really just gave them some confidence. And it was just a little gem. So when they were asked about whether they're doing it built, on time, because obviously it slipped with the regional consenting taking almost a year. So the manager from eco-gas said that they were looking to air freight instead of sea freight materials for the construction. so that they could do it sooner rather than later. And I just wanted to kind of use that as a little highlight of giving a community a little bit more hope than in the past, because those meetings, obviously, you know, it's pretty stressful for everyone for putting up with the odour that's so bad. So I just wanted to acknowledge that work is progressing on the eco-gas site, and that group are working really hard to get it done as soon as they possibly can, recognising that there's been some improvement, but there is the occasional odour that comes from the plant. The other thing that was really positive is that the current operator has also said they're going to be mindful of the public holidays over the Christmas New Year's period, and that they will make sure that their loading and anything that could cause, you know, an increase in odour would be minimised on those days where people are having, you know, families around and enjoying the holidays. So on those special days. So I mean, the chair might want to add some more, but I just wanted to pass on the good news around from that liaison group meeting. It was probably one of the best liaison group meetings we've had in a long time. So yeah, just wanted to acknowledge that.
It's different up there.
Well, we wouldn't want to comment on who may or may not be present at meetings of that kind, but just to say that, yeah, it's really awesome that something that's been a real pain is now continuing to progress, and that there is real, you know, it started, like, it's not, it's the consent is there, it is being built, like, it is going away. And I just say that again and again, it is going away.
So now we're going to start on the 14-year against Portland.
Let's let's
rest on the win,
yeah. And I mean, I will say that it does appear that Portlink operators are operating well outside what is reasonable, and that you know, that they have you know, now that the focus is off them, they are being much more cavalier. And so, you know, I'm waiting to hear back from council staff, but it needs much more rigorous enforcement.
Yeah.
And it's really, really unfair on the people who live there.
If everyone may not be aware, but a resident came to the council, described it as being like tortured, which is not actually too inaccurate. That's how it feels for people that.
Yeah.
Well, it's close, isn't it? Well, where you down?
Yeah.
You down and you along with it.
But you know, while the council is limited in what it can do, it can do more than it's doing more actively, and so we the collective can do more. So, yeah.
One thing I want to raise, unfortunately, the North Beach car park and the signs that have gone up recently. Just really give it a heads up and encourage you to go down over Christmas and perhaps on the Sundays to have a look at it, because it really has caused a lot more confusion and frustration in the community. Hasn't resolved anything. So it'd be really good if you could think about other things, because it's coming up review at the end of January. It's not too far away from the meet. So yeah, it would be really good if you could perhaps physically go down and check it out for yourselves. Try and come up with some solutions and enjoy the beach at the same time.
Yep. Right, thank you. Right, we will now do our do the closing cut here. Uni here, ki te uru karapanui, ia wātia, ia mama, tēnā kau, te tinana, te wairoa, i te ara takata, koe rā i ro, whakarea a ki runga, kia tina, hui e, ai ki.